Hello again. So since I'm redoing my videos, well, basically just starting my channel over, um, figure I would talk about, for those of you who are probably coming here from uh, different social media sites, what got me into art. Because the stuff that I show online, there are large gaps of time in between each drawing that I do. I think last year, actually from 2023 to 2024, end of 2024, that's probably the longest stint that I've drawn in one sitting since maybe high school. Because I really didn't start doing realism until I was actually a freshman in high school. My first realism drawing was actually the Joker. In comparison to what I can do now, it's shit, but it was enough to actually get into the school art fair. So that was a little bit of a confidence boost for me at the time, but it's not what got me started. That's not what got me into drawing. Originally, I started drawing around the age of probably 10, 11. Because I do have drawings from when I was 11 and 12. I don't think I have any drawings from when I was 10, at least nothing that I can find. But I was mainly inspired by video games. I used to play Dragon Ball Z as a kid, so I loved drawing the characters. And I would also try and buy books where you would learn how to actually draw the characters step by step. But I found it frustrating trying to repeat the instructions in the book, so eventually I stopped buying art books and I stopped trying to take art classes. I took some recreational art classes as a kid during the summers, but I didn't really like them. Mainly because I didn't like being told what to draw, and also I didn't like being instructed on how to draw because it wasn't very clear. I feel like that's a subject that you have to actually struggle in and physically do. You can't just talk to someone and tell them how to draw. That's like a mechanic telling you how to fix your car, but not actually showing you. Like, how are you going to memorize the instructions and then go out to a car and say, yeah, I know what an alternator looks like? You're not going to fucking know. You need to be shown. So there are some cases where a tactile learning strategy is needed, and I feel like art is definitely that subject. So I just never really bothered with any serious art courses. In high school I took art just because, it was an elective, and it was an easy elective for me. I didn't have to do too much. But it was when I moved to Texas, and around junior year of high school, I began trying to draw realism, or took a stab at doing realism, I should say. I began drawing my favorite horror film characters. I actually found some of my old high school drawings, so I'll take photos of those and post those on my other social media account, Threads, I think it's what it's called now. But, sorry, I thought I had a sneeze. Went away. But that was what I got started with. And, over time I tried to get better at it. But the thing that I actually focused on the most when it came to doing realistic drawings was drawing eyes. I found that to be the most challenging part of a face to draw, because there is so much detail to get down when it comes to drawing eyes. Now, have I perfected my realism style? No. I would say not even the slightest. I would say from junior year to senior year of high school, probably late junior year of high school to the end of senior year, was probably the largest stint where I was actually drawing continuously. I did dozens of drawings. Most of them were incomplete, because the thing about me is if I don't like something, I will not complete it. I'll just make a note of the errors that I've made and I'll move on. Now, that doesn't mean that I won't necessarily repeat those mistakes, because sometimes I will because I'm not paying attention. but I've gotten better at hiding my mistakes, which is why I've actually done more completed drawings now than I have in the past. But, after high school, I took a break from drawing, and then I started drawing in community college, briefly for, about maybe 3 to 6 months. And that was towards the end of my community college years. Mainly because I just got bored and had a lot of free time, so I would actually draw while I was at school. And after that, when I got into my university, UT that is, I stopped drawing altogether. And actually, I hadn't drawn anything since 2017. That was when my stepfather had passed away. After that, I didn't draw anything for 2 whole years. And then in 2019, I did a couple drawings. I have them currently, but they're crumpled up. I did not take good care of them. And that was the first time I had drawn in 2 years, and I was actually surprised that I had not lost any of my ability. And then I stopped drawing from 2019 to 2023. That was when I started picking it back up briefly. I only drew for maybe a couple months, and then I stopped. And then, in 2024, I started drawing again to help with my depression. And it helped for a little bit, but then after a while, I got bored and I stopped. And I only recently started picking up my pencil again to try and draw something for the first time in maybe, 6 months. So unfortunately, I am not very consistent when it comes to drawing. So despite what you might think, whatever you see, that's actually, in my opinion, amateur work. I have not practiced nearly enough as I should. And I have not used the materials that I probably should be using if I wanted to actually get to, the realism style that I want to go for. The main reason why I haven't actually done it is because I don't have a setup. I currently live with my mother, so I just have a room and I can't really set up anywhere. I have a projector where I could actually trace larger drawings onto larger pieces of paper, but I don't have the space to do it. And me trying to freehand something and trying to make that into a hyperrealism drawing just does not sit well with me. So I have not made a solid attempt at that. But I will say I do know the techniques to get to hyperrealism. I just have not employed them, at least not fully. But I think the main thing that got me into art was actually video games and anime. After that, I just started seeing other artists on YouTube, do their drawing videos, and that got me inspired to try and, get into realism in high school. And, after that, it kind of fell off. Now, will I continue drawing? That's up for debate. A lot of people think I should continue drawing, and a lot of people think that I should pursue a career in art. Because there are a lot of people who say that I'm talented, and to that end I'll say, well, the prospects just aren't there. The problem with me is that I know what the problem is and I know what the solution is, but the people who are encouraging me and giving me good advice, that's all it is. It's advice. It's not an actual guaranteed roadmap to a solution. Like if someone told me, hey, I know someone that can get you a job as an artist, I would take that. I would actually go with that. But if someone says, oh, you should, apply to be a tattoo apprentice or, be a tattoo artist. Well, okay, that's one solution to my, dilemma of, will I ever make anything in my art? But, that's not a guaranteed solution. That's just, I might be able to get into that position if I apply and hopefully hear back from a human and not an automated system, or if, I'm given an opportunity. But the cards just aren't there. So I haven't found a reason to continue my artwork, Because unfortunately, we live in a society where everyone encourages you to monetize your hobby, because unfortunately, we live in a capitalist society where your worth is basically equated to $1. You know, how much money can you make? And that will determine how well you live. And I guess, just to be blunt, newsflash, I didn't fucking ask to be here, so I'm sorry if I'm a burden on anyone, but, you know, if asking for just the basics like food, water, shelter, and maybe a car to get to a job that you can actually work and contribute to society isn't really a guaranteed human right, and on top of that, healthcare, then why are you fucking having kids? Don't have kids. Tangent, sorry. But anyway, that's the main reason why I don't draw anymore, is because I'm just discouraged and put off from it because I cannot monetize it. And, you know, the people who tell me that I should pursue certain careers in art, well, that's an option, but that's not a guarantee that I'll actually be able to get into those positions. So, you know, it's nice to hear those compliments, but it you know, no offense, to put it bluntly, it doesn't mean shit to me, because it's nice to hear it, but it's not encouraging. Encouragement would be if I were to actually be, you know, get monetized for my hobby. You know, if people actually saw my art and wanted to buy it, or just support me so that I can actually continue to do it, and they can continue to see my works. You know, whether they buy prints or whether they buy the originals, you know. So that's actually why I abandoned art. And that's actually why I went for, you know, math and physics, because I loved math in high school, and, you know, I had more physics-based questions as, you know, time went on, and I started taking more, you know, science electives and community college, and from there I just transferred to UT in physics. You know, sadly, I regret it. You know, I regret pretty much all my decisions in life right now. So, you know, for those of you who are new and are watching, you know, that's what got me into art, and that's also why I don't really do art anymore. You know, despite how talented people might say I am, it's not enough. You know, what is enough would be if I actually found a way to make money off my art. Then I would actually do it, and I would do it consistently. It doesn't have to be a ton of money, but it would be encouraging to, you know, have a side gig going. But what's the point in devoting time when I could devote more time to, you know, powerlifting, or just reading, you know, math and physics to keep myself up to date, you know, in case, God forbid, I actually ever do need it in a, you know, trying situation. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough, so that's all for now. Thank you for watching. Bye.